as we continue to explore this series, there's certainly no shortage of players whose identities seem to align with certain franchises more than others, despite having stops in other markets over the course of their careers. It really is fascinating talking to fans to see where their memories lie and what teams they associate with each player. While some are more memorable, others are easy to forget, or, as we've explored, tenures that some fans wish they could forget. In this episode, we'll explore a handful of more players from different eras whose addresses changed over the course of their careers, and maybe you'll be reminded of some stops you forgot about. The pride of Medicine Hat, Alberta, Trevor Linden played parts of 3 seasons for his hometown Tigers in junior, winning back-to-back Memorial Cups before being drafted second overall by the Vancouver Canucks in 1988. In his first season in Vancouver, Linden scored 30 goals as a rookie, reaching that mark in 6 of his first 8 seasons as a member of the Canucks. At 21, Linden was named captain in Vancouver, a member of the leadership team for the majority of his tenure. Dubbed by some to be Captain Canuck, Linden spent 10 seasons in Vancouver, but the arrival of a certain Hall of Famer in 1997 led to the end of his time on the Canadian West Coast. Linden would end up being traded to the New York Islanders in early 1998, playing on Long Island for parts of 2 seasons. While his time there didn't last long, he played just over 100 games in Islanders threads before he was traded to Montreal after the 98-99 season. As a member of the Canadiens, Linden suffered some injuries and was limited to parts of just 2 seasons once again. Despite signing a contract extension with the Habs, he was on to a new home, landing in Washington in time for the 2000-2001 campaign. But it seemed Linden was always meant to be a Canuck, so after just 28 games with the Capitals, the former second overall pick made his way back to Vancouver, where he played out the remainder of his career. In total, Linden dressed for over 1,100 of his 1,300 NHL games as a member of the Vancouver Canucks. The yin to the great one's yang, Jari Kurri is one of the greatest hockey talents to come out of Finland. A veteran of over 1,250 NHL games, Kurri was a 4th-round pick of the Edmonton Oilers in 1980. On a team ripe with Hockey Hall of Famers, Kurri had a career that most NHL players would aspire to have. After 754 games as an Edmonton Oiler, Kurri sits second all-time in goals scored, 4th in assists, and 3rd in points behind Connor McDavid and Wayne Gretzky. He also boasted 2 60-goal seasons and 6 100-point campaigns. To cap it all off, Kurri was a member of all 5 Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup victories. To suggest that Kurri is one of the greatest Oilers of all time is an understatement, and in 2001, his number 17 was retired from the club. With all of his success in the City of Champions, it's sometimes easy to forget that Kurri's time took him to other NHL markets, with some stops longer than others. Following the 1990 Stanley Cup victory and amidst contract disputes with the Oilers, Kurri played in Italy during the 1990-91 season before being involved in a 3-team trade with the Philadelphia Flyers and Los Angeles Kings. Kurri was traded to Philly but never played a game, and was flipped to LA where he enjoyed parts of 5 seasons with the Kings. To finalize his career, he was shipped to the New York Rangers for a 14-game stint in 1996, finalizing his time with Anaheim and Colorado before retiring in 1998. There's no quick way to tell the story of Sergei Fedorov's career, but if you really want to get a sense of how he came to the NHL and his impact, you should definitely check out the documentary on the Russian Five. His journey to the NHL aside, Fedorov helped to invigorate a sad sack Detroit Red Wings organization and helped to lead them to becoming one of the greatest franchises of the mid to late 90s and early 2000s. During his time in Detroit, Fedorov was part of 3 Stanley Cup championship teams, winning the title with back-to-back championships in 1997 and 98, and again in 2002. In 908 games in the Motor City, Fedorov scored 400 goals and 954 points, and was a combined plus 276. His defensive play also earned him 2 Selke trophies as the NHL's top defensive forward, to go along with a Pearson Trophy as the NHL's outstanding player as selected by his peers in 1994, a year in which he was also named the league's MVP. The 6-time All-Star's time in Detroit came to an end in 2003 when he signed a free agent deal with the Anaheim Ducks. He played just 85 games in Orange County over 2 seasons before being traded to Columbus in 2005. After 2.5 years with the Blue Jackets, Fedorov was traded again, this time to the Washington Capitals in 2008. He played 70 games in DC before leaving the NHL to finish his career in Russia, playing in the KHL. Adam Oates is a fun player to revisit because one look at his career may surprise some. Not from a statistical standpoint, though. The pride of Weston, Ontario played over 1,300 games in the NHL, stacking up over 1,400 points. And those 1,420 total points places Oates in the top 20 in all-time NHL scoring. He was named on the top 100 greatest NHL players in history back in 2017. But among many fans, Oates isn't really a household name and could be considered one of the most underrated players of all time. But his journey through the NHL is an interesting one. Many fans will remember Oates from his time in St. Louis, where 228 of his 286 points were assists, many of which could be attributed to feeding Brett Hull one-timers. Before his time in St. Louis, though, Oates entered the NHL with the Detroit Red Wings, who signed him as a free agent out of college in 1985. He played 246 games with the Wings before being traded to St. Louis in what then general manager Jim Devellano called the worst trade he'd ever made. After going from Detroit to St. Louis, Oates moved on to Boston, where he starred for the Bruins for parts of 6 seasons from 1992 to 1997. His 142 points in 1993 are third most ever in a season by a member of the Bruins. In March of 1997, Oates was part of a major deal with Washington, where he played 387 games for the Capitals. All of those stops were memorable ones for Oates, but he would continue to collect NHL jerseys before rounding out his career. Between 2002 and 2004, Oates would play 131 games for the Philadelphia Flyers, Anaheim Ducks, and Edmonton Oilers. He retired in 2004 and was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2012. He was the first Russian player to ever be chosen first overall in the NHL entry draft, and in 2001, the Atlanta Thrashers made history when they selected Ilya Kovalchuk with the number 1 selection. The first superstar of the expansion Thrashers, Kovalchuk's first season in Georgia was a good one, scoring 29 goals and 51 points, earning all-rookie team honors. His offensive stats continued to climb as Kovalchuk notched 5 seasons with over 40 goals, surpassing the 50-goal mark twice. Despite his offensive talents, the Thrashers never seemed to find success, with Kovalchuk and company enjoying just 4 playoff games during his time in Atlanta. After 7+ seasons with the Thrashers, Kovalchuk was traded to New Jersey, where he signed a whopping 15-year contract with the Devils in 2010. However, just 3 years into the contract, Kovalchuk decided he was done, retired from the NHL to head home and play in Russia, where he would suit up for the next 5 seasons. That is a whole story unto itself. In 2017, Kovalchuk wanted to come back to the NHL, and he signed on with the Los Angeles Kings. He'd played parts of 2 seasons in LA until his contract was terminated by the Kings during the 2019-20 campaign. Again, there's a whole other story there. He eventually signed on to play with the Montreal Canadiens, who then flipped him after 22 games to Washington, where he played for his 3rd team that season, suiting up for just 7 games with the Caps. It was a wild one, to say the least. That puts the lid on another episode. Thanks for joining us on a trip down memory lane as we explored more players from times of yesteryear. I know there's plenty of examples we could explore next, so feel free to leave some suggestions in the comments, and we'll see if they get added to a future episode. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your stick on the ice.